my goodness! Antonio Williams!
Fletcher finding his way through. It goes! Rahmon Fletcher. Oh, William Lee throws it out again.
Next question. This was off the back of a fairly large thread going on in our Discord channel between a few guys regarding the Eagles and Rahmon Fletcher, but in particular. But the ultimate
there it is. There
the
it is.
ultimate
Sorry,
end of
one
it was,
second.
I guess.
I just need to tick it off. The Rahmon Fletcher mention. Sorry, tick.
Well, it's not. Well, it'll get better. In my response to this question, I guess what the question is, how it's worded. I guess the question for the show is: would the Eagles be in contention for the playoffs with Fletch suiting up? What do we think, fellas? Oh, go on, Grant. Not a chance.
No, nah.
I've sliding doors moments for this as it stands right now. Go on, Grant.
Fletch in that team.
If Fletcher's on that team from the start of the season,
Nah, no chance.
Nicholson.
Yeah. He doesn't just change the ability of the team; he changes the mentality of the team. He gets the best out of people. Like, I don't see there's anyone on that team who will get the best out of their teammates right now. He will get the best out of them, like in training, on the court. Like, it's not just about his stats. I feel it's about the impact that you have on everybody else.
But then what happened last season? What happened last season?
Very true. They did only just miss out on the playoffs, but they had some injury issues and players come and go.
Is it safe to say that last season's roster wasn't that good apart from him? I know. Like,
so what's the difference this season?
More bodies, more athletic, better players.
More points on the board last season, if that's anything to go by.
Ben Montford is meant to be, GB international. Do you think Rahmon could probably get the best out of him? And like you got a combo. You got Ben Montford and Rahmon as your 1 and your 2.
There's some way to go.
Best out of both those players. Then it's a different story, right?
There's some way to go in the season. I get what you're saying, Grant. No, the way it is at the moment, it's very, very downbeat, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any kind of turnaround. But I
think last year's Eagles team would beat this year's Eagles team. And you could say they're more athletic, maybe better individual players, but
Rahmon's on that team.
But I don't think Rahmon would then
if you swap David Cohn for Rahmon, I think that's a different. You're talking about a different story, and we're talking about a team last season that Rahmon was on that only just missed out on the playoffs. I know they missed out on the playoffs, but as it stands at the moment, this Eagles team looks like it's going to miss the playoffs by a mile.
So I would say this, but how does then someone like a Javion Henry, Hamlet, who seems to be a guy that kind of goes one-on-one, how would this whole Eagles team to me looks like a team that doesn't have identity? Does adding Rahmon bring identity that through Stuttle isn't really what they're looking for?
Possibly.
Like, I feel as if this Newcastle team just have loads of different bits. They're yet to kind of find themselves out. You add Rahmon would just be as frustrated as David Cohen. David Cohen's an experienced point guard. He's at times thrown his hands up in the air as if like, what the hell's going on?
Adzma, man, let's get you in on it. Does Rahmon make the difference to?
I don't know, man. I mean, Rahmon is the man. Let's face it, he is the man. And yes, he makes players around him better. Yes, he is a leader. Yes, he scores a lot of baskets. Yes, the player side of it is not in question. Now, was it part of Stutel's decision that he didn't return to Newcastle?
Possibly. He maybe wanted a fresh start. We don't really
know. So if that was the case, then we can't really have this conversation because you'd have two guys that don't necessarily see eye to eye with one another, maybe. Or you might have a head coach that...
You might have conflict, yeah.
Yeah. So there's too many intangibles with it. I mean, Ben Montford's been coming under a bit of fire this week. I saw him on Twitter. Was it in our group that somebody
from Eagles fans? From
Eagles fans, and I mean,
not impressed with his performances.
Well, I mean, I thought it was a bit harsh, to be honest, because Ben Montford. Okay, there's an argument to say is Ben Montford, you sort of star scoring guy on that team.
Well, he's
probably
not.
No,
but that's not his role, is it?
No, it's not. Montford's an out-and-out shooter. Okay. Yeah. Now, we saw what he did in that big game in Newcastle where he went mad for GB. And he's got a lot of kudos from that, and rightly so, because he was immense that night. When he's on, he's on. The guy can shoot the lights out. But you can't rely on a shooter like Ben Mockford to be your leading scorer, because I think it was actually who said it once, who summed up it might have been Josh Bett, actually. He made a good point saying when you're a player like Ben Mockford, you either have a great game or not a great game. You're a shooter. It's either happening or it's not. Okay. But it goes back to my original point that he's coming under a lot of fire for not doing the job that he's not supposed to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's never been his role, is it?
Well, I mean, he's your guy. I mean, sometimes you look at, he starts a lot of GB games, and I'm sort of going, would I start Mockford? Probably not. He'd be my 6th or 7th man. I'd send him out there, get me some buckets, rally the troops, whatever it is that he's going to do.
Yeah.
But at Newcastle, at his club level, he has to be in the starting 5 because he's one of the best players that they've got. There's bigger disappointments up there than Ben Mockford. And I referenced Donovan Johnson because I thought that he'd actually have maybe a bit of a breakout season this year when he came over, because
I thought it was a sure thing.
Well, when he was in Manchester, he was playing 3rd or 4th fiddle to guys that were, I don't know if I want to say better than him, but it wasn't. I've said this a million times. It wasn't until Hexham and Brady left that he became a useful part of that team and stepped up a little bit. But his numbers this year, he's averaging like 6 points a game. Couple of rebounds. It's not, so you might want to be looking at your guys that are going to be earning, the bigger money in the club, your imports that everybody expects to be throwing down the numbers, and he's not doing it.
Well, and let's look at this. You see the new guy, French,
right?
Looks like an NFL player.
Yeah, big dude.
This is a problem that I pointed out last time. French import player. Big dude. 12 minutes a game.
Doesn't seem right.
Everett, import. Forward, 13 minutes a game, 0 points. French, 4 points. Kennedy, import, 5 points. Cone, import, 6 points.
Yeah, it is British passport. But the point,
who Cone is?
Kennedy.
Oh, Kennedy, my bad.
Well, here's the thing. If we're going to, I'm not going to start sort of, reeling off names of people. I'm just looking at their numbers here. Who's their leading scorer?
Hamlet.
Hamlet. And what's the average in a game? Let me see.
Was it 17 points before?
19.
19. All right. Which isn't, that's not a bad scoring average, in the BBL. That's your sort of numbers.
Top 10, I think, yeah.
Before you sort of start naming and shaming the players, and I know that I've just done that, and I'm not shaming Donovan Johnson because I've seen he's a very good player. You've got to be sort of looking at it going, Stootle got a lot of, how can I put this? Well, there's no other way, smoke blown up his ass because of what a great job he did for GB.
Yeah.
And, that's great when you're working with a talent pool like you're working with. But the BBL's a different type of gig, because you've got to, use your resources differently. You've not got 20 superstars to choose from. You've got 4 roster spots for imports. Then you've got to get a couple of decent British guys. Then you've got to have your bench. And, for a rookie coach, it's probably difficult because I don't know whether he's done recruitment before. I'm sure he's done a lot of scouting and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
but,
tough.
It's kind of like if you're going to start naming and shaming, you've got to be sort of going, all right, well, it's your head coach that's picked these guys. It's your head coach that's putting these guys out on the floor. So
me personally as well. I guess we all did to a degree. Took some flack and were accused of being disrespectful when we said things like Mark Stewart is an unknown entity at this level at the BBL because we've not seen him do this. We've seen what he did for GB, fantastic, but this is completely different. Your pool of players is the world, and now you've got to recruit players within that and get them to come and play for you.
You see, here's a number for you. Just looking down their actual stats, Mockford's averaging 5.7 points a game. Now, Mockford's game is 3-point shooting, so he's averaging less than 2 3-point shots a game.
Is that not because he's been required to do other things now?
Well, maybe because he's getting 20 minutes a game, so you don't know. But then you're looking at the rest of the scoring load on there. After Hamlet, you're right down to Johnson averaging 11.6 and Varner averaging 10.3. You've always
not even on the team anymore.
Yeah.
Right, okay. But you've always got to have, in the BBL, you've got to have a guy that averages 20 to 25 points and a guy that averages 13 to 16 points.
I agree.
But you've also got to have guys that, with those averages on any given night, one of them gives you between 25 and 30, and then the other one gives you between 15 and 20. And then you've got your guys giving the 8 to 10 points. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of how it has to work on a basketball team, especially in the BBL. And Newcastle stats, they're just not there. I mean,
and you guys began to touch on it last week's show. Like the letter from the owner, the managing whoever Paul Blake is these days for them, was very much of like, oh, we were good. We were very good. All right, but what about now? What are you doing to change things? We said it before in here, like you've had this blank canvas and you seem to have changed your canvas a few times in terms of players coming in. Like, 10 imports used. You've now got Kyle Johnson. You've got Denzel Ibiario. You've got Ben Mockford. You've got quality players there who it just seems as if it's just they'll throw different 5 guys at teams every week. And you know what? They look good for 30 minutes or 35 minutes against Caledonia, but they still didn't win.
Yeah.
Defoe should not be being their main guy. And that's not here. Darius is amazing. What he's able to do and put his body through now at his age and how he's performing in season 19.
No, I agree with you. And playing him, whilst I'm not questioning his fitness levels or anything like that, but playing him for 20, 25 minutes a game, you can't expect that out of a 19-year veteran.
No.
Regardless of how good he still is, because we all know that Darius is, the guy's a legend. His place is firmly sealed in BBL history.
But Father Time is undefeated, yeah.
But it's that one where guys like him at that age, you're looking for more. You're looking for him to be the big leader on the bench and the guy giving you
impact. Come in and impact.
10, 15 minutes of solid Darius basketball.
Oh, well, like Mike Tuck did last season. Come in, turn the game.
Yeah, a Tuck type guy. These veteran guys still have a place on a team, no doubt. I mean, Callum Jones has proven that this year with the Giants. He's fitted in really nicely to what Vince is doing. But these guys,
well, he looks in a better basketball mind as well, getting some good minutes and really contributing to the team and knows his role. I like it.
But if you ask these guys a lot of the time when they get to a certain age or point in their career, do they want to be playing this? And I know a lot of players in the WBBL who still get asked to play, and have been great players at club level and country who just don't want to play 30 to 35 minutes a game because their bodies aren't capable of doing that and giving the same production as they used to. They're saying, okay, I want to play, but I want to play 15 minutes and contribute that way. And it's got to cross over into the men's game as well, because you're going to get guys that are going, look, I still want to be part of the roster. I want to be part of the team and playing, but I want to give you 10 or 15 solid minutes.
I want to be able to walk by the time I'm 50.
Exactly. I don't want to make this my last season because I've got no choice but to play 25 minutes in a game. And, I'm having to carry the can for these young guys.
Nicholson, get ready to tick the box then, because this is my take on the question, which we've kind of strayed around. We've talked around the subject of it. We got heavy into the Eagles. So, my take on Rahmon Fletcher and would the Eagles be in contention were he there? My thing is more of a sliding doors type thing. If he's there from the beginning of the season, I don't think they would have had 10 American players come and go. when you're there with that kind of guy, with Rahmon, I don't think the amount of distribution he's going to give you, the atmosphere he's going to put around the team, the identity, and that's a big word. That's a big thing we've been saying about a couple of teams in the BBL at the moment who don't really know what their identity is because of the coming and going, but because of the change in coaching as well. Now, it is commendable, let's be honest, for if this is the case, for Mark Stewart to say, we're going to go from scratch. What Rahmon's done for the Eagles is fantastic, but we're going to go from scratch. This is going to be my team. I'm going to run this team. What I think would have been a better idea would have been to keep Rahmon, use that stability, if you like, because we know, looking at it from season to season, how hard it is to recruit players, and particularly how hard it is to get it right. You need a good point guard in this league, and Rahmon Fletcher is a sure thing. We've seen what he's done since going to Manchester, and we've talked Manchester dropping down the table, but they're in a situation where they've not played as many games. Let's talk again when they've played 5 more and see where they're at. But I think, yes, the sliding doors factor is if Rahmon's there from the start of the season, you don't have all the coming and going, and you have a team identity, and then you are in contention for the playoffs, as opposed to being miles away from the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to be top 3. I'm not saying they're going to be 7th, 8th even, but they're in contention for that 7th and 8th spot if he's there.